Disney revives Kimmel's show, but two affiliates keep it off air.
Tech billionaires wield White House influence yet crave monarchy. Apparently, ruling the free world isn't enough when your ego measures the size of your stock options. Time to crown the kings of hubris.
Shanghai Stock Exchange approves more Threads IPO betting on AI chips. In a world where silicon is the new gold, China scripts its own semiconductor saga, while the West clutches its microchips like pearls.
UN Security Council to vote on Iran nuclear sanctions, proving diplomacy's déjà vu. Just when you thought the geopolitical soap opera had a new plot, it's the same old rerun: sanctions, negotiations, repeat.
In the land of the free, justice is just another episode of Who Wants to Be a Political Scapegoat, starring your least favorite ex-FBI director.
Charlie Kirk's app, aiming to dox critics, doxed its own users instead because irony is a feature, not a bug. When you're trying to out your enemies but end up exposing your allies, it's time to consider a career in slapstick comedy instead of tech.
Default seeks partners for Vortex spaceplane, proving even billion-euro projects need BFFs. When your billion-euro space toy needs a buddy system, maybe it's time to rethink the whole lone wolf approach to aerospace engineering.
Gold plots shut down to hurt Democrats, showing government sabotage is their kink of choice. When your political strategy reads like a revenge fantasy, maybe it's time to swap the villain cape for some grown-up pants.
Only 5% of new bands break into mainstream, and the music industry blames TikTok. When your success depends on going viral, maybe it's time to admit the algorithm's running the show, not the talent.
Jennifer Lawrence condemns Gaza genocide, calls it a humanitarian crisis. When Hollywood speaks louder than politicians, maybe it's time to reconsider who we elect to run the world stage.
Italy deploys frigate following drone attack on Gaza aid flotilla, calls for accountability. When warships become the new peacekeepers, you know the world's playing battleship with real lives at stake.
Rep. Brian Mast removes passport killer from bill after backlash, proving public outrage still packs a punch. When lawmakers play passport roulette, it's nice to see citizens reminding them that not everyone wants to be a globe-trotting ghost.
Trump deploys troops to Portland, authorizing full force, because nothing says peace like military intervention. When the commander-in-chief treats a city like a war zone, it's hard to tell if he's protecting citizens or auditioning for a dystopian film.
Eswatini judge skips hearing on US deportations, redefining the judicial concept of absence makes the heart grow fonder. If judges can ghost court dates like bad Tinder matches, maybe justice really is just a swipe left away.
Freeport halts Grasberg mine production, just as Indonesia dreams of controlling the chaos.
Trump officials demand asylum restrictions, but forget the broken parts are mostly their own doing. When you're the one swinging the wrecking ball, maybe don't act shocked when the walls come tumbling down.
UK judge declares Memescreamer's terrorism case null and void, citing tardy charges. Justice delayed is justice denied, more like justice lost in the mail, with a side of legal bureaucratic bungling.
Trump double dares United Nations to mock him again, claiming his administration's triumph. Who knew international diplomacy had a laugh track? Maybe next time he'll bring a whoopee cushion instead of a speech.
Yankees' Giancarlo Stanton obliterates a 451-foot homer, leaving Orioles' Trevor Rogers with existential dread. Stanton's bat seems to have a vendetta against baseballs.
The Supreme Court strikes down race-based affirmative action, promises class-based solutions, then ensures elite universities remain bastions of privilege. Class-based affirmative action is the new unicorn, magical, mythical, and nowhere to be found. It's the perfect solution for preserving the status quo while pretending to change it.
Carney meets European leaders in UK, promises unity, then watches Brexit chaos continue unabated. Mark Carney's diplomatic charm offensive is like a band-aid on a bullet wound. Looks nice, but doesn't stop the bleeding. Britain's still tangled in its own red tape.
White House memo orders agencies to prepare layoffs and markets poised for chaos despite usual investor indifference. It's like throwing a Molotov cocktail into a crowded boardroom. Suddenly, everyone cares about the fire they helped start. Investors might just feel the burn this time.
Dubai police arrest sex trade boss. Investigation reveals high-end party exploitation, yet VIP clientele remains untouched. It's like raiding the snake pit and leaving the nest of vipers to slither away, justice served only to those low enough on the food chain.
Advanta, backed by KKR, hires 4 banks for $500 million IPO, yet farmers still can't afford seeds. A $1 billion IPO sprouting from a land where farmers barely scrape by. It's like planting gold in a field of dust and calling it agriculture.
Trump deploys troops to Portland to protect ICE, calling it full force if necessary. In a move that screams subtlety is for suckers. The president sending soldiers to shield ICE from what exactly? A city full of baristas and bookshops? Irony, thy name is overkill.
Only 20% of Indian tech workers secure US visas, and the American dream calls it progress. From coding to dreaming, the road is now a tightrope over a canyon of red tape. Welcome to America, where opportunity knocks but the door is bolted shut.
Small businesses slash hiring by 32% and the economy calls it a red flag. When Main Street stalls, it's not just the engine that's sputtering, it's the whole ride. Buckle up, folks, we're coasting downhill with no brakes.
Looks like Homeland Security's counting skills rival their compassion. Both seem to be tragically lacking. When the numbers are fuzzy, so too is the truth.
Amalau and the Sniffers released Choices, and it's a punk anthem for indecision. When punk rockers start questioning their choices, you know society's gone off the rails. Who knew a 3-chord riff could sound like an existential crisis?
The E Division drops pages in 2025, writes the book on indie rock ennui. When your indie playlist starts reading like a diary, it's time to question if your life's a novel or a Netflix series.
Hackers Comic Form and Sector J499 Phonebook malware call it a Eurasian cyber makeover. When malware becomes the new software update, maybe it's time to question if hackers are just frustrated IT consultants in disguise.
Universities face budget cuts and rising costs, yet still charge tuition like it's the Middle Ages. When education becomes a luxury item, maybe it's time to question if universities are just expensive history museums.
Citigroup sells Banamex stake for $2.3 billion, then calls it a strategic pivot.
When even the drones are rolling their eyes at your tech, maybe it's time to rethink your war machine wish list. Federal Reserve keeps interest rate bets alive while stock buyers act like it's a clearance sale on Wall Street. When the market's a roller coaster, some folks just can't resist another ride, even if the tracks are missing.
Amazon blames AI for layoffs, then hires cheaper H-1B workers, according to senators. When your AI scapegoat turns into a cost-cutting strategy, it's like blaming the dog for eating your homework while secretly feeding it under the table.
Trump claims ignorance over James Comey's potential charges, despite frequent clashes. Playing the "I don't know" card is Trump's favorite trick in the deck. It's like claiming ignorance while holding the instruction manual.
Whoa, let's hit pause on that scene and switch gears to a beat that's less about virtual fisticuffs and more about the punches pulled in policy. Only 3% of Congress prioritize healthcare reform, and they call it progress. It seems like their idea of a health plan is a band-aid on a bullet wound. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left playing Operation with no steady hand in sight.
Justice in Indonesia seems to follow a pay-first, question-later policy, turning courtroom dramas into financial cliffhangers.
Trump demands Microsoft fire Lisa Monaco, claiming her Biden ties are too tangled for comfort. When the president moonlights as a corporate HR consultant, you know the line between government and big tech has dissolved like sugar in hot tea.
UN General Assembly attendees touted 5 new promises, then recycled old rhetoric. It's like watching a rerun, where world leaders nod along to the same stale script, hoping nobody notices the plot never changes.
When pulpits turn into political podiums, divine intervention meets election interference, and faith becomes just another pawn in the geopolitical chess game.
Trump claims Ukraine can reclaim all territory with NATO's help, but his own past cozying with Russia raises eyebrows. It's like the fox saying the chickens can win with a little help from the hound. Just forget who left the coop door open in the first place.
Drug traffickers live-streamed brutal killings in Buenos Aires, and authorities call it a tech loophole. When murder becomes a live show and governments shrug, our humanity's on a slippery slope to the dark web of indifference.
It's like telling the Titanic passengers to expect a smoother ride after they've hit the iceberg. Too little, too late, with a side of denial.
Nicolas Sarkozy sentenced to 1 year in jail for campaign finance scandal, but will likely serve at home with an ankle bracelet.
Trump demands Microsoft fire Lisa Monaco, former Biden aide, claiming her presence is a digital threat to his fragile ego. When a tech giant becomes the latest battleground for a former president's vendetta, you know the firewall isn't the only thing overheating.
Only 10% of parents admit to scarring kids with strict rules, and experts call it a parenting win. When a childhood becomes a minefield of rules, therapy bills become the real family heirloom, passed down with love and a side of guilt.
Only 50% of spouses know when their partner liquidates a joint account, and the legal system calls it marital bliss.
Netanyahu attacks Palestinian recognition as dozens walk out of UN speech, then calls it diplomatic success. When silence speaks louder than words, even the empty seats scream what the speaker refuses to hear. Not every standing ovation is a standing endorsement.
Epstein calendar.
Sinclair ends Jimmy Kimmel boycott, then claims it was all for ratings. When media moguls play musical chairs with morality, you can bet the music's just a distraction while they rearrange the profits.
When the state plays the stock market like a slot machine.
Meta invests billions in humanoid robots, bets on software over hardware. When your social media empire starts building robots, it's not about connecting people, it's about ensuring they can't escape the algorithm in the flesh.
Trump's UN speech signals the US has dropped the leadership baton and the world sighs. When the self-proclaimed leader of the free world becomes a global punchline, maybe it's time to start looking for a new superhero cape.
Only 30% of pregnant women stop Tylenol, and Trump's advice risks more harm than relief. When the pain of bad advice outweighs the pain relief it tries to prevent, maybe it's time to prescribe a dose of common sense.
Spinal Tap stays seated for NPR interview, proving rock and roll doesn't always stand tall.
Ukraine traps thousands of Russian soldiers in Pokrovsk, creating the largest cauldron yet in their counterattack. When your war strategy involves cooking metaphors, you know the heat is on, but someone forgot to turn off the Cold War leftovers simmering since 1945.
FBI Director Comey claims innocence after indictment, but the U.S. court has other ideas.
Supreme Court approves Trump freezing 4.9 billion eyes in foreign aid, calls it fiscal prudence.
Trump promises tariff revenue will fund relief for U.S. farmers, a classic case of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Turning trade wars into a farmer bailout is like patching a sinking ship with duct tape, buoyant promises with a splash of reality.
Who knew the Grim Reaper moonlighted as an IT consultant? Apparently, one weak password can send a century-old legacy straight to the digital afterlife.
FBI fires 15 agents over conduct during George Floyd protests, calls it accountability. In a plot twist worthy of a crime drama, the FBI finally decides that maybe, just maybe, firing tear gas at protesters is not in their job description.
Halloween advent calendars hit shelves at $30, counting down 13 days to doom, because nothing says spooky like corporate cash grabs. When capitalism meets cauldrons, even witches need a budget. Who knew your wallet could be haunted by the ghost of consumerism past?
Only 5% of folk songs hit the mainstream, and Davluri might just be the exception.
Trump administration indicts James Comey on 2 charges, claims it's justice. When the FBI director becomes a target, is it law enforcement or just a vendetta with a badge? In Trump's world, the line is as blurry as his Twitter history.
Economist Sloak predicts inflation rise, then blames sticky pressures.
YouTube offers Mozart's Requiem for free, but first demands your data. Because nothing screams tranquility like surveillance capitalism. They say music soothes the soul, but it seems the price of admission is letting big tech eavesdrop on your lamentations.
UK mandates digital ID for work, claims it fights migration. Because nothing says freedom like a government-issued barcode for your life, all in the name of a problem they can't seem to solve.
Trump tells UN leaders they're destroying their countries, then claims teleprompter sabotage. When the world's fate rests on a man who thinks a broken teleprompter is a global conspiracy, maybe it's not the countries that need fixing.
The irony hits harder than a kangaroo kick, a force built to protect democracy, wrestling with its own internal stormtroopers.
When your biggest rebel move is asking fans to comment, it's less punk and more polite applause. Rock on, softly.
First Brands finance units file bankruptcy. Loans tumble further. Watch out! When your financial lifeboats capsize, you might want to reconsider the wisdom of setting sail with a Titanic-sized debt.
Tennessee unveils Tina Turner statue, but only after decades of ignoring her legacy in the place she called home. It's heartwarming to see a monument, but maybe they could have shown some love when she was alive and kicking hits instead of cans.
Lennes Rare Earths post best quarter since 2015 thanks to US-China trade tensions. When your profit depends on global superpowers bickering, it's like rooting for a bar fight to boost your tips. Cheers to chaos, capitalism.
Nature Special Questions, University Future, AI Challenges Survival. When your ivory towers start to crumble under the weight of AI, maybe it's time to rethink if that degree in basket weaving was ever necessary.
Peter's report claims Dodge breaches privacy laws, jeopardizes American data safety. When your meme coin security is as flimsy as its mascot's paper-thin promises, maybe it's time for a leash and some obedience training.
Studios debate category placement for Paul Mescal, as if awards are won by strategic chess moves rather than, talent. The real comedy is watching studios twist narratives to fit golden statues, as if audiences can't see the strings on the puppets.
FBI investigates Dallas shooting at ICE office as targeted violence, despite officials being. When violence becomes just another headline, the real tragedy is how numb we've become. Welcome to the dystopia where empathy is the endangered species.
Mariah Carey releases new track, sells nostalgia wrapped in vocal runs. When the pop diva's latest hit feels like a time capsule dipped in glitter, you know she's here to serenade your inner 90s kid into submission.
When in doubt, swap a tech overlord for a local one. Vive la revolution, where data independence means swapping one snoop for another.
Trump signs TikTok sale order, values it at $14 billion, then calls it a win for national security. When a social media app becomes a pawn in political chess, you know we're one executive order away from a reality TV presidency spin-off.
Only 20% of Redditors want live visualizers, and the mod team calls it a revolution. Because nothing says cutting-edge music community like turning your browser into a retro Winamp screensaver.
Bernie Sanders supporters pack a Brooklyn venue, proving political rallies are now the hottest underground shows of the season. When politics meets performance art, even the bricks can't keep a straight face. Who knew revolution came with a cover charge and a 2-drink minimum?
Trump unveils gargantuan ballroom to overshadow White House because size matters more than substance. In a world where ego is king, why not build a monument to hubris? Bigger rooms, smaller ideas. Welcome to the age of grandeur without grace.
Only 30% of pop songs feature poignant farewell, and Michelle Fabre calls it innovation.
North Korea's Kim demands more nuclear production, then calls it peacekeeping. Because nothing secures global harmony like stockpiling weapons that could turn the planet into a radioactive wasteland faster than you can say diplomatic crisis.
Congressional Democrats name Musk and Prince Andrew in Epstein files, but silence is still cheaper than an explanation. When the rich and famous play the blame game, it's all about who can afford the best legal team. Accountability? That's just for the little people.
Trump praises Ukraine's territorial claim, and suddenly the EU's Callas is handing out gold stars for unexpected diplomacy. When a cheerleader for chaos starts waving peace flags, you know the world's script got a rewrite. Maybe it's just a plot twist to keep us guessing.
Scottish Prison Service admits breaching human rights, then offers condolences. It's comforting to know that after a fatal 40-minute restraint, the only justice Alan Marshall gets is a hollow apology and a shrug.
Only 20% of emotional support animals are truly certified, and landlords call it a community building initiative. When your apartment building feels like Noah's Ark, it's hard to tell if you're living in a community or a petting zoo.
Trump's economic approval drops 14 points, calls it fake news. Seems like the art of the deal couldn't quite negotiate with reality. It's amazing how quickly a booming economy can become a boom in your own foot.
Amazon settles lawsuit for $1 billion, calls it a commitment to customer transparency. When your free trial feels like a lifetime subscription, it's less about transparency and more about seeing through the smokescreen.
Comey calls Trump an obsessed ex. Then an indictment drops like a breakup mixtape. When political drama turns into a soap opera, expect the soundtrack to be full of irony and legal paperwork. Who needs reality TV when you've got this circus?
Sudanese government blocks aid for 500 days, claims it's preserving national unity. When a donkey cart costs more than a car, the only thing running smoothly is the machinery of neglect.
Brussels introduces new cookie policy, promises to unsnarl the web, because nothing says internet freedom like agreeing to cookies more often than you agree with your spouse.
ISPAC's Cenobus's offer for Meg Energy calls it a consolidation, not a coup. When an endorsement sounds like a half-hearted may, you know the oil sands sector is running on fumes and wishful thinking.
European stocks climb despite Trump's tariff threat, buoyed by US spending surge. It's the financial equivalent of finding a 20 under the couch while the house is on fire.
In a world where bullets fly and jobs vanish, remember, a cyborg beetle might one day save your life.
Insurance denies mental health treatment for unstable son, prioritizes profits over people.
When even aides turn double agent, international diplomacy feels like a high-stakes reality show where betrayal wins the ratings.
US policy pushes India toward China, defying its own strategic goals. It's like forcing two exes to reconcile at a party you're hosting. Awkward, counterproductive, and bound to make everyone uncomfortable.
Netflix OG execs take content reins of rivals Amazon and Paramount Plus Proving loyalty is just another plot twist. When streaming giants swap execs like baseball cards, viewers are left wondering if their favorite shows will survive the next corporate shuffle.
Top GOP and White House allies block Epstein vote. Transparency is the real conspiracy. When power brokers hide in the shadows, democracy becomes a game of hide and seek where the truth is always it.
Congress rewords Social Security ages, ignoring financial shortfall. It's like rebranding a sinking ship without patching the holes. Great for optics, terrible for actually keeping afloat.
His melting pot approach turns 6 strings into a symphony of defiance, where every chord rebels against the mundane and the expected.
DRC opens bids for oil drilling in gorilla habitat, calling it economic progress. In a twist of eco-logic, half the pristine forests are up for grabs, leaving gorillas to ponder a career change into oil rigging.
Trump transfers TikTok US ownership, claims it's now safer. Because who wouldn't trust a patchwork of Wall Street suits to protect your data over a Chinese tech giant? Same circus, different clowns.
Agentic AI revolutionizes cybersecurity, creating new risks faster than it solves old ones. In the cybersecurity arms race, AI is both the knight in shining armor and the dragon breathing fire down your digital neck.
When your band's aesthetic is alien warlords meet horror show,
Trump demands investigation into triple sabotage at UN after teleprompter, escalator, and sound failures. When your biggest enemy is technology, maybe it's time to reconsider your war on facts.
Only 0% of apocalyptic prophecies come true, and the internet calls it a disappointment. When the world doesn't end, it's a real letdown for those trying to dodge student loans and awkward family gatherings.
Zelensky promises to end his presidency post-war, then proceeds to negotiate peace with a nuclear bear. In a world where leaders cling to power like toddlers to candy, it's refreshing to see one who'd rather drop the mic than hog the spotlight. Let's hope the curtain call comes with a big finale.
South Korea to allow 24-hour one trading, hoping insomnia boosts global market charm. When your currency needs a caffeine boost to stay relevant, maybe it's time to question the stock index beauty pageant.
US rescue makes Argentina's debt shine, while inflation still treats pesos like monopoly money. It's like slapping a band-aid on a gaping wound and calling it a facelift. The real surprise? That anyone thought a temporary boost would solve chronic economic chaos.
Purdue University researchers challenge Alzheimer's dogma, say brain fat, not plaques, is the real villain. Just when you thought you could blame everything on sticky proteins, along comes fat to crash the neurodegenerative party.
Daniel Krug convicted of stalking and murdering his wife after posing as her long-lost ex-boyfriend for months. When your ex turns out to be innocent and your current partner is the actual villain, it's a plot twist even Hitchcock would envy.
Trump suggests NATO shoot Russian planes. Poland says roger that because what could possibly go wrong? It's like giving a toddler a flamethrower and expecting diplomacy. When bluster meets blind agreement, peace is the first casualty.
Emmanuel Macron calls Donald Trump after motorcade blocks his car because nothing says diplomacy like traffic jam therapy.
Moldovan polls averaged 3 surveys for the September 28th election, ensuring that confusion remains the frontrunner. In the grand tradition of political crystal balls, Moldovan polls prove once again that guessing is an international sport.
Scatman John's Scatman's World hits nostalgia at 2 minutes 44 seconds, promising utopia through gibberish. A catchy beat and nonsense syllables, because apparently world peace requires less strategy and more scat. Who knew?
Zelensky asserts Hungarian drones breached Ukrainian airspace, then accuses them of industrial espionage. When your neighbor's drones drop by unannounced, it's less a friendly visit and more a high-tech peeping Tom situation.
Only 20% of optical research projects yield usable parts, and laser manufacturers call it innovation. When the bonus is a high reflectivity mirror, you know the research budget was tighter than a pair of skinny jeans after a holiday feast.
Israel and Hamas dig in on demands as the Palestinian death toll passes 64,000, calling it negotiation. When your bargaining chips are human lives, the stakes aren't just high, they're humanity's collective shame. Diplomacy, anyone?
Iran and Russia signed $25 billion nuclear deal while citizens contend with power outages. In a plot twist worthy of a dystopian novel, the duo invests in nuclear futures while the present is lit by candlelight.
Trump proposes all Gaza hostages be released in 48 hours, a timeline as realistic as his hair. Who knew diplomacy was a speed run? Maybe next he'll solve world hunger with a drive-through window.
Raul Jimenez scores 3 goals in 1 week, yet Wolves remain in relegation danger. Jimenez dazzles on the field while the rest of the team seems to think the goalposts are just decorative.
Brian Ferry asks if love lasts past tomorrow, and in 1992 we still believed it might. Ah, the 90s, when hair was big, dreams were bigger, and love songs promised what Tinder never could.
Xcel Energy forks out $640 million for wildfire damages, but the charred remains of 1,000 structures won't rebuild themselves. Corporate wallets can be bottomless, but they won't put roofs back over heads or undo the environmental havoc.
Only 12% of Flores de Abril buyers find it worth the hype, and the publisher calls it a literary triumph. A bouquet of words can't mask the scent of marketing over merit.
EU ministers build drone wall, promise safety, but ignore privacy. Because nothing says secure borders like a flying surveillance net that doubles as Big Brother's new hobby.
Barcelona includes Lionel Messi in squad but vows no risks with his fitness despite Copa del Rey stakes. When your star player's thigh is on the line, it's less about the beautiful game and more about playing doctor with a dash of hope.
Scientists deployed lasers for quake alerts but ignore shaky funding.
Because who needs a stable budget when you've got lasers and fiber optics pretending to be the Ghostbusters of tectonic plates?
Amazon refunds $1.5 billion after Prime signups debacle, calls it customer satisfaction enhancement. It's like getting a sorry card with a $1 billion smiley face after a surprise subscription party you never RSVP'd to.
US CEOs fear Trump's Maoist style, yet still fund his rallies. Ah, the sweet symphony of hypocrisy, where the titans of Wall Street dance nervously to the tune of chaos while writing checks to keep the band playing.
White House threatens layoffs instead of furloughs if government shuts down, ensuring fear as the new job security. When jobs hang by a thread, you know it's not a government shutdown, but a bureaucratic guillotine party.
Sarkozy vows to sleep in jail, claims innocence despite 5-year sentence. The dignity of a fallen statesman, head held high and ego even higher, as he trades the Élysée Palace for prison walls.
Dallas mayor calls for prayer after deadly ICE facility shooting, as if divine intervention can rewrite gun laws. When policy fails, prayers become the band-aid on a bullet wound, a celestial shrug replacing legislative action.
ICE officer on leave after slamming woman's head onto courthouse floor, proving justice is blind and sometimes brutal. When the enforcers break the law, a paid leave becomes their timeout, a slap on the wrist for a body slam.
Spotify streams for Chaos Creeps hit a whopping 12, and the artist calls it a viral sensation. When your track's popularity rivals a tumbleweed in the desert, maybe it's time to rethink the marketing strategy.
With every new tariff, the American dream gets a little more expensive, like a luxury tax on your right to sit down.
India qualify for Asia Cup final with 41-run win over Bangladesh, celebrating by making cricket the new national religion. In a world where runs trump reason, cricket is the only thing that unites faster than a Wi-Fi connection.
Syrian president calls for global support, then forgets his own backyard.
Russian invasion of Ukraine drags on into day 1309 as world leaders continue perfecting the art of looking concerned.
Europe spikes its way to glory, proving once again that when it comes to team sports, the continent's got more synergy than a Cold War chessboard.
Clarence faces cyber attack, exposing customer data, but promises your wrinkles will still be their top priority. In the world of luxury skincare, your privacy is just another layer to be peeled away.
National Weather Service Austin staff vacancies surge post-floods, proving that predicting disaster is easy.
Only 32% of retirees pay off their mortgage early, yet financial advisors call it security. Trading a low-rate mortgage for liquidity may sound like a solid plan, but in the land of financial gymnastics, it's like swapping a parachute for a paperweight.
Zelensky warns Europe it can't lose Moldova too as Russian influence blooms like a toxic flower in the neighborhood. Seems like Moldova's sovereignty is just another pawn on Putin's chessboard of chaos.
Martin Amis turns Europe's crises into fiction, dressing reality in the emperor's new clothes, while the continent burns with existential dread. When life hands you a geopolitical crisis, make it into a plot twist and call it art.
Zelensky blasts NATO's weak response to Russia, as if the alliance were defending with a papier machete shield against a bear. When the big kids in the schoolyard just watch the bully steal your lunch money, you start wondering if they're on your side or just enjoying the show.
Most lands, US democracies, rule respect deficit, while leading a party known for its own political contortions. Germans lecturing on democracy is like a cat teaching a dog to swim, entertaining but not as instructional as they'd like to believe.
Prince Harry blames sources intent on sabotage for rumors of tension with King, while his charity events go unnoticed by royal drama enthusiasts. When a prince's good deeds get drowned out by gossip, you start wondering if the real royal sport is a game of telephone with crowns.
Living well is the new anti-aging secret.
Trump champions potential Ple-Intel merger, claims it showcases his influence over big tech as if he's the wizard behind the Silicon Curtain. When a real estate mogul thinks he's the tech whisperer, you know the only code he's cracking is the one on his golf cart's GPS.
Trump's energy secretary plans to return billions meant for green projects, then claims it's budget optimization. Recycling funds instead of plastics, because who needs a sustainable planet when you can have a sustainable budget?
Reddit user posts St. Anne's Church photo, claims it's the most beautiful Gothic church, but forgets Notre Dame exists. If beauty contests were this subjective, my cat could win Miss Universe, but hey Vilnius, you do you.
U.S. Supreme Court backs Trump, freezing $4 billion in foreign aid, then calls it fiscal responsibility. When billionaires need tax cuts, they get them, but when the world needs aid, it's suddenly time to tighten the purse strings.
Jimmy Kimmel's mom wipes her eyes during his late-night return, then the internet collectively reaches for tissues. Because nothing says heartfelt family moment like turning on the waterworks for a few million strangers.
When justice finally catches up, even ex-presidents discover they're not immune to the consequences of their backroom deals.
EU launches billion-euro drone wall for security, solves the problem of how to spend taxpayer money extravagantly. When technology becomes the new Berlin Wall, you have to wonder if the real enemy is the one outside or within.
Supreme Court considers legalizing unlimited political spending, calls it democracy, because nothing screams representative government like a bidding war between billionaires.
Jimmy Kimmel Live returns after 3 years.
and outspoken American workers still waiting for their own prime-time revival. While celebrities get their spotlight back, the rest of us are left singing the blues in the unemployment line.
Moldovan election proceeds under Russia's looming influence, claims to ensure sovereignty. When your neighbor's shadow is bigger than your country's flag, it's hard to feel independent.
Samaritans plan to close half of branches, hoping to shrink their way into expanding mental health support. When saving lives is your mission, maybe don't start by axing half the lifeboats.
Federal Reserve officials debate rate cuts, while gold clings to its peak like a cat on a too-tall tree. Seems gold's only rival for uncertainty is the Fed's next move, both as predictable as a toddler's nap schedule.
Attempted Trump assassin stabs himself post-verdict, courtroom drama meets Shakespearean twist. When your defense strategy involves self-harm, you might need a new lawyer or a better grasp of irony.
Only 50% of new songs get more than 100 plays, but Songsby Nick claims he's got what you need. If a YouTube link falls in the forest, does it make a sound, or is it just another echo lost in the algorithm?
TikTok bans 42% of Isla Gale's videos, claiming cultural sensitivity. When an algorithm tries to teach rhythm to the rhythmically blessed, expect a dance-off where the robots end up 2 steps behind.
Dan Ives and Tom Lee launch ETFs, claiming their social media megaphones will drive success. When Wall Street's loudest voices sell you a megaphone, remember, it's your money they're amplifying, not your voice.
Ex-husband discovers hidden stocks post-divorce, considers legal action because trust was just another stock option. When your marriage is a merger and your ex-wife's honesty is off the books, you might need a forensic accountant instead of a therapist.
Only 20% of singles find love at bars, and bartenders call it a romantic investment.
In a country where bullets outnumber ballots, we're left wondering if security means anything more than a hollow promise wrapped in red tape.
Iraq resumes Kurdistan oil exports after 2-year halt, flooding a market already drowning in surplus. It's like bringing a fire hose to a flood. Just when you thought the oil market couldn't get more slippery, Iraq's got barrels to spare.
JLR's cyber attack recovery drags on, blamed on outdated software and lack of expertise. When your cybersecurity strategy is as ancient as a dial-up modem, don't be surprised when hackers waltz in like they own the place.
Spain and Italy send ships to aid Gaza flotilla, defying Israel's blockade. When European nations start playing lifeguard in the geopolitical kiddie pool, you know someone's about to get a diplomatic wedgie.
Trump plans 100% tariffs on patented drugs, while TikTok's $14 billion spin-off app jumps into the American market dance. TikTok's trying to dodge the China shadow, but Trump's got his eyes on your medicine cabinet. It's the art of the deal prescription style.
Sister Jean retires at 106, outlasting 4 popes and countless basketball brackets. When your biggest rival is Father Time and you still retire undefeated, it's safe to say you've won the game of life.
UK court dismisses NEET chief charge, citing technical error in prosecution. When bureaucracy is your best defense against terror charges, maybe it's time to re-evaluate who's truly terrorizing whom.
World's oceans fail health check. Acidity crosses critical threshold, and marine life gets a front row seat to its own extinction event. Looks like the only thing thriving underwater is our collective denial. Who knew climate change would turn the ocean into a giant acidic punch bowl?
US rejects UN Health Declaration, claims it promotes destructive gender ideology. When fighting cancer becomes a culture war, maybe we should check if the real disease is political paranoia.
New home sales hit 3-year high, driven by discounts and slashed prices. When housing dreams rely on clearance sales, it's hard to tell if we're buying homes or bidding at a bargain bin.
Peter Friedlander snags top TV spot at Amazon MGM, swapping Netflix's algorithms for Amazon's endless streaming abyss. Guess it's time for a new series.
Netanyahu calls football bigwigs to avoid Israel ban. Trump tags along.
When diplomacy flounders, just add a military escort and hope for the best, because nothing says peace like a naval intervention.
Only 17% of drug traffickers fear Trump's threats, and the administration calls it a victory. When your solution to drug trafficking is more explosive than effective, it's like using a sledgehammer to swat a fly, collateral damage included.
After pledging $160 million to Mozambique, the U.S. closes its own aid agency. Promising aid while shutting down the means to deliver it is like mailing a lifeboat without an ocean. Bureaucracy, the ultimate shipwreck.
UK watchdog clears Morgan McSweeney of new donation probe, proving sometimes the watchdog just watches. When the fox guards the henhouse, it seems the only crime is getting caught, and even then only if the watchdog's not napping.
Chat Mum claims a golf boom, while most Americans can't afford a set of clubs. Golf's economic impact is like a hole-in-one for the wealthy, while the rest of us are stuck in the sand trap of rising costs.
Only 10% of retail investors use ChatGPT for stocks, and experts warn against it. Trusting AI for stock tips is like asking a magic 8-ball for dating advice. Entertaining, but you might end up broke and single.
Hungary's government faces new child abuse scandal, jeopardizing its family-friendly facade. When your family values include systemic cover-ups, it's less about protecting the family and more about protecting the power.
S&P crowns Morocco as Africa's only investment-grade Eurobond issuer, while the rest of the continent watches from the economic sidelines. It's like giving one kid a golden ticket and telling the others to keep dreaming. Who knew credit ratings doubled as popularity contests?
JP Morgan Wealth Management discusses trillion-dollar transfers, calls it a golden age for philanthropy. When the rich pass their wealth, it's like a game of Monopoly where only the top hats get to play and the rest of us keep circling go without collecting.
Trump urges Poland and Estonia to shoot down Russian jets because why not escalate a conflict with nuclear implications over airspace drama? It's like handing matchsticks to kids in a fireworks factory. What could possibly go wrong when subtlety is thrown out with the diplomatic bathwater?
Senior Hamas official claims October 7 attack was a golden moment despite its heavy toll on Palestinians. When a golden moment comes at the cost of human lives, it's less about victory and more about the tarnish of lost humanity.
Gold nears record as ETFs inflate, claiming safety amidst chaos. In the glittering market circus, gold's the trapeze artist swinging over our heads, while we're stuck juggling inflation and geopolitical fireballs.
IRS mandates high earners 400 onto Z, catch-ups go Roth, as if tax-free growth suddenly needed more red tape. It's like telling the rich to wear seatbelts in their gold-plated convertibles. Sure, it's safer, but who's really feeling the pinch when the engine's a tax loophole?
Guns N' Roses blast nostalgia with Night Train live while ticket prices hit sky-high notes. As Axl and Slash revive rock's golden era, fans pay through the nose for a taste of the past, wondering if nostalgia is worth the price of admission.
Polish PM declares Russia's global intentions evil, but the Kremlin calls it cultural exchange. When your neighbor brings over a gift wrapped in sinister motives, it's less diplomacy and more like inviting Dracula for a sleepover. Just don't expect a safe return policy.
European Central Bank claims inflation target met, but urges patience instead of change. When banks preach patience after hitting targets, it's like a chef reaching the perfect stew but refusing to serve it hot, lukewarm satisfaction for all.
Court dismisses terrorism charges against Liam Anad, citing insufficient evidence for a conviction. When your case is flimsier than a pop star's alibi, maybe it's time to stop mistaking musical rebellion for a criminal offense. Rock on, Liam.
In a world where billion-dollar deals are the new normal, the only thing deflated is the fans' hope for affordable tickets.
Justice Department officials resign in droves, citing leadership chaos and a lack of moral compass. When the enforcers of law are tripping over their own shoelaces, it's hard to tell if justice is blind or just blindfolded.
XCCB member predicts pause in rate hikes, then hints at eventual shift to keep us all guessing. In the grand theater of European banking, the script remains the same: suspense, confusion, and a plot twist that never quite arrives.
Amazon Web Services security fell spectacularly, allowing Shadow v2 botnet to sell DDoS attacks using misconfigured Docker containers. When your cloud has more leaks than a colander, maybe it's time to question if it's raining incompetence or just pouring negligence.
When your only options are bad, worse, or downright disastrous, it's like being handed a menu where every dish is a different flavor of defeat.
Trump threatens 100% tariff on patented drugs, says it's about local jobs, not pharma profits. The art of the deal. Force drug companies to build plants stateside, then pretend it's for the people while cashing in on the chaos.
President Trump signs executive order for US investors to buy TikTok, as if Oracle babysitting your data is the ultimate security blanket. When a data privacy plan involves the folks who once claimed your data is safe, it's like hiring a fox for henhouse security.
Only 20% of hyperpop fans understand lyrics, and the rest just vibe with the chaos. When the beat drops harder than your last relationship, you know it's less about words and more about surviving the sonic storm.
U.S. Labor Board rescinds Apple CEO's rights violation claims, citing complex corporate empathy. When the watchdog rolls over for a belly rub, you know the corporate leash is tighter than a pair of skinny jeans on a sumo wrestler.
Ultra-human home gadget launches at $549, solves nothing but your wallet's weight. When your smart home is dumber than a box of rocks, you're paying for the privilege of being underwhelmed and overcharged.
White House names TikTok investors, then calls it a national security win. When billionaires are the new guardians of national security, maybe it's time to redefine who they're really securing.
Doug Ford bans speed cameras in Ontario, calls it a win for freedom and traffic chaos. In a world where speeding is freedom and safety is overrated, Ford's playing chicken with both common sense and suburban streets.
Only 10% of AI tools truly simplify life, and the tech giants call it innovation. When your life's easier because robots are your personal assistants, you might wonder if they're also the ones writing your to-do list.
Private credit giants infiltrate blue-chip lending, and they call it progress while eyeing your wallet. When the wolves wear suits and lend to the elite, remember, they're still hungry for your financial future.
Fed governor demands rapid rate cuts, fearing economic fragility amid record Wall Street profits. It's like calling for a fire drill while the boardroom's toasting marshmallows over the flames. Just another day in the land of fiscal fantasy.
Congress threatens government shutdown, blames each other while federal workers brace for unpaid bills. It's a classic showdown. Political brinkmanship versus the people who actually keep the lights on. Spoiler alert, the lights might flicker.
Iran detains British couple, health deteriorates, and diplomatic whispers echo louder than rescue plans. When a couple's well-being is held hostage, the world's moral compass spins like a broken record on silent.
Google blocks swearing-in of Democrat, fearing her vote to release Epstein files. It's the legislative equivalent of hiding under the bed, hoping no one finds the skeletons in the closet. How noble.
Only 50% of revolutions make the airwaves, and corporate media calls it a glitch in the matrix. When the truth drops like a bass line, the static of silence reveals the real revolution was never for sale.
Because
European golfers outpace rivals by 5 points, call it a masterclass in polite domination. While the fairway warriors swing clubs like swords, their rivals ponder if they showed up for a golf game or a history lesson.
Trump threatens 100% drug tariff while pharma execs scramble to build US factories. Imagine threatening to spike the punch at a party you weren't even invited to. The pharmaceutical dance just got a little more frantic.
Trump demands Microsoft fire top lawyer over election probe, then claims it's for the good of democracy. It's like asking a fox to guard the henhouse, then being shocked when the chickens unionize against the rooster.
R36's Garcia predicts dollar doom, asks what's different now. Perhaps this time the dollar's demise will come not from economic forces, but from billionaires like Garcia finally getting bored of his green hue.
Footage reveals executions of alleged collaborators in Gaza, then claims justice was served. Justice in the street, but only if you're blind to the blood. When justice wears a mask, who's really pulling the strings?
UNSW engineers make atoms chat inside silicon chips, turning quantum sci-fi into quantum reality. When atoms start gossiping in silicon, you know it's only a matter of time before they unionize and demand better working conditions.
Doomers claim AI apocalypse imminent, then binge watch robot cat videos. When the end times look like a Pixar marathon, it's hard to take the doomsayers seriously. Maybe the real apocalypse is their Wi-Fi going down.
Only 3% of bands release new music videos, and the brooders call it groundbreaking. When the musical landscape is a desert, even a mirage of creativity looks refreshing. Too bad it's just another echo in the barren wasteland.
EU and Russia fight for Moldova, promise democracy with a side of geopolitical chess. When nations treat countries like pawns, it's the citizens who end up in checkmate, dreaming of a world where elections aren't a spectator sport.
Dubai courts sentence 23-year-old Brit to life, ignoring the prison's notorious human rights record. In Dubai, luxury and justice are both mirages. In the desert, one's just a little easier to see from a 5-star hotel.
ICE detains Des Moines superintendent, calls it a routine operation. When education leaders are treated like fugitives, it's a lesson in fear and control, where the syllabus includes deportation instead of diplomas.
When peace talks fail, it seems even academia leans on the old adage, if you can't beat 'em, arm up and try again.
It's a classic case of diplomatic gaslighting, a state on paper but a stateless reality, where recognition is just a mirage in the desert.
Only 47% of users understand Google's cookie policy, and Google calls it transparency. When your online experience feels like a scavenger hunt, it's no wonder surrender seems like the only option. Just remember, the house always wins.
Tricolor's new loan service team can't enter HQ. Bankruptcy locks them out. When your financial empire crumbles, even the key cards get revoked. Maybe they should have kept the spear under the welcome mat of fiscal responsibility.
Poland shuts airspace near Lublin and Rzeszów for unplanned military activity, citing security. When unplanned becomes the new standard operating procedure, and airspace closures are the latest fashion in national defense, you know someone's playing geopolitical Jenga without a rule book.
Because nothing says I care about your brain like a bass drop that could rattle neurons right out of your skull.
When recognizing a state's existence becomes a global faux pas, it's like inviting someone to a party and then denying they're on the guest list. Welcome to Diplomacy, 2025 edition.
FCA spends £1 million on ad campaign, then denies drivers' claims firm's legitimacy. When your regulator doubles as a spin doctor, it's hard to tell if it's your interest or their image they're protecting.
Gunman attacks U.S. immigration facility in Texas, kills at least 2, highlighting security flaws. When the land of the free becomes a shooting gallery, it's time to ask if the Second Amendment should come with a refund policy.
Adelita Kryova wins Arizona. Democrats claim it boosts Epstein accountability because nothing screams justice like pinning hopes on a local election to tackle a scandal that's been dodging accountability like a slippery eel in a greased courtroom.
New Yorker cartoon features Welcome to America, here's your complimentary bulletproof vest, skewering national safety norms.
Chery raises 9 billion Hong Kong dollars, promises overseas expansion with the subtlety of a fireworks factory in a drought. Because when your domestic market is a minefield of regulations and competition, why not take your show on the road and hope nobody notices the smoke signals?
When your strategy hinges on using civilians as human shields, you've already surrendered any moral high ground you might have claimed.
Braskem say hires advisors for capital optimization while grappling with petrochemical downturn and environmental disaster fallout. When your business model is as toxic as your waste, financial advice is the new greenwashing.
Only 5% of early career family physicians evade burnout, and the rest call it medical training. When your work-life balance is a myth and your debt feels like a second residency, calling it burnout is a polite understatement.
Epstein emails reveal 18,000 messages, showcasing an elite support network that makes the Illuminati look like a book club. When your inner circle consists of academics, attorneys, and media specialists, it's like having a Swiss army knife of moral ambiguity at your disposal.
Liam Hemsworth quits social media after replacing Cavill, then claims it was just noise.
American households spent $449 on video games in 2024, but somehow still complain about Netflix prices. In a world where virtual loot boxes are prioritized over real-world groceries, it's a wonder we're not all just avatars by now.
EU approves drone wall plans against Russia and calls it a peacekeeping measure. When drones are the new wallflowers of diplomacy, you know the dance floor of international relations is a minefield waiting for a misstep.
Cleveland Guardians erase 11-game deficit in 20 days, now tied for first place.
Turns out, the Guardian's secret weapon is time travel. Either that, or they've just been binge-watching inspirational sports movies on repeat.
In a world where your dream home is a click away, so is the realization that even catfish have a real estate license.
Netanyahu, Sharif, and Lee speak at UN, yet world peace remains as elusive as a unicorn in a war zone. When speeches are cheaper than action, we get a global stage full of sound and fury, signifying nothing but diplomatic déjà vu.
Trump expects more prosecutions post-Comey, proving his justice system runs on vendettas like a soap opera on steroids. In the Trumpverse, justice isn't blind. It's a reality show where the villain gets more airtime than the hero.
Kamala Harris publishes memoir on challenges, omits failures, proving selective memory is the best ghostwriter in politics. When politicians write their own history, every chapter is a cliffhanger with no fall, just a leap over inconvenient truths.
Demon Time by Dangerous Drops, with zero marketing budget, claims authenticity while relying on the oldest trick, mystery over substance. If only art critics graded on vibes alone, this track would be a Picasso, unseen, misunderstood, and yet somehow priceless.
Over 1,000 children fall ill from free school lunches in Indonesia. Food poisoning strikes the gift that keeps on giving. Turns out, the real freebie was dysentery. Maybe next time they'll serve up a side of actual nutrition instead of a lesson in gastrointestinal warfare.
UK court halts deportation of disabled Nigerian man after 38 years because Mercy took its sweet time catching up with bureaucracy. When your humanity is an immigration loophole, compassion becomes a last-minute plot twist rather than a policy.
Palestinian leader vows to stay, UN applauds, while the world watches another round of promises fade into diplomatic déjà vu. When applause is cheaper than action, even the loudest claps won't echo in the land of broken peace treaties.
U.S. Ambassador suggests reassessing Canadian airport pre-clearance, and suddenly Canadian travelers are left clutching their Tim Hortons in economic turbulence. When border convenience hangs by a diplomatic thread, even the politest nation might start considering a maple syrup embargo.
House Democrats release Epstein records, name-dropping Musk, Gates, and Prince Andrew, but full disclosure is like a unicorn. Everyone talks about it, nobody sees it.
Russia promises decisive response if provoked by the West. Lavrov calls it a peace pledge. The Kremlin's version of diplomacy, a warm handshake with one hand and an artillery shell in the other. Peace talks never sounded so much like a Cold War rerun.
Laser scanning microscope captures microworlds, proving even the tiniest universes are more interesting than your boss's vacation slideshow. When a microscope's lens reveals wonders unseen, it's a reminder that beauty often hides in the details, unlike your boss's PowerPoint.
Belgian Prime Minister De Wever dismisses using frozen Russian assets for Ukraine loans because apparently financial justice is just an avant-garde concept. When the world's creditors play hot potato with assets, Justice gets buried under a mountain of geopolitical red tape.
Du Jie appears to have violated Mangioni's right to a fair trial. Ruling reveals justice can be as elusive as a politician's apology. When the Department of Justice fumbles fairness, the scales of justice tip like a rigged carnival game.
Iran's Shahed drone inspires global imitation because nothing says forward thinking like a flying metal vulture with a talent for destruction. When the world's leaders play Simon Says with war machines, diplomacy becomes a quaint relic like vinyl records but without the cool factor.
Pius Strikes Back releases Poker Mechanic, promises to revolutionize country music with a hand of aces and a side of fries. Nothing says authentic country like a poker face and a mechanic's overalls, because who needs cowboys when you've got carburetors?
France sides with Dassault. Without Germany's agreement on FCAS, Paris will develop the fighter jet of the future alone. Ah, the timeless elegance of French independence. When in doubt, build a supersonic middle finger to European unity. The skies will be, say, chic, but oh so lonely.
Former French President Sarkozy gets jail time, proving even political charmers can't sweet-talk their way out of justice. It's a plot twist worthy of a French noir, the suave ex-leader trading the Elysee for a cell and probably plotting his next comeback.
South Carolina Republican legislator pleads guilty to child sexual abuse imagery charges, but still claims to uphold family values. Ah, the classic political playbook. Preach morality while hiding skeletons in the closet. Hypocrisy is the real bipartisan tradition.
ICE detention facility in Dallas faces deadly shooting, highlighting the brutal reality behind America's immigration policies. When the land of the free becomes a cage of chaos, even the American dream can't shield you from the crossfire of its contradictions.
Only 12% of Americans can locate Georgia on a map, and the Gogokuri sisters keep Khazurian tradition alive. When your culture is more invisible than a politician's conscience, you know the struggle's real. Folk music, one way to stay on the map.
Canadian man shot during U.S. golf trip, adding tragedy to par for the course. In America, even a leisurely golf trip can end with a hole-in-one. In the heart. Forewarned is forearmed, but not foresafe.
Xiaomi launches 17 Pro at $900, solves nothing with another oversized camera module. In the world of smartphones, it's apparently groundbreaking to slap a bigger lens on a phone and call it innovation.
After Intel's comeback kid moment, the US government buys a 10% stake, then cozies up to Nvidia for investment. Big tech's playing chess with our future while we're stuck in checkers mode. Who needs transparency when you have trillion-dollar blind spots?
Bali coroner orders DNA tests on heart, then wonders if it belongs to the right body. In another episode of CSI Bali, the plot thickens as we wait on DNA results to confirm if the heart's owner is a victim or just misplaced luggage.
U.S. filmmaker Idris Hausler narrates a Palestinian father's tragedy, claiming Israeli forces destroyed his family when they killed his sons.
As the global Sumud flotilla sails on, empathy becomes the unwelcome passenger in geopolitics' endless sea of heartbreak.
Nexstar ends boycott, airs Kimmel again, because who needs principles when ratings are at stake? Apparently, the price of integrity is measured in laugh tracks and ad dollars. Welcome back, Jimmy. We've missed the commercials.
Australia bans social media, then gets a standing ovation from Europe at UN event. How long until they realize cutting off TikTok doesn't make the trolls disappear, it just makes them move to Parliament?
Republican Arizona lawmaker demands execution of Democratic Congresswoman, echoing the rhetoric of the Wild West in modern politics. When cowboys trade their hats for gavels, it's no wonder democracy feels like a shootout at the OK Corral.
Nothing screams financial stability like bundling debt into a neat package and calling it an opportunity while holding your breath.
Judge allows hearsay in Soldier F trial because justice is best served with a side of whispered gossip. Apparently, when the truth is murky, we rely on echoes. Who knew the courts were such fans of courtroom telephone?
Chicago police face scrutiny over a shooting without video evidence preceding the Laquan McDonald case. In a city where accountability is often as elusive as a unicorn, cameras conveniently fail at the most opportune moments.
War unleashes love surgery. When love goes under the knife, it's a bloody spectacle that makes even Cupid reach for a mop.
Trump orders troops to Portland as ICE clashes with protesters, citing full force is necessary. When your only tool is a hammer, every protest looks like a nail. But in Trump's America, it's always hammer time.
Sinclair and Nexstar restore Jimmy Kimmel live to local stations, proving even late-night comedy isn't safe from corporate tug-of-wars. In the battle between media giants, it's the viewers caught in the crossfire, forced to endure reruns until the suits make peace over a cocktail.
Trump fails to pressure Kimmel as consumer pushback prevails. Turns out, even the Donald's bluster can't drown out the voice of the people, or late-night laughs. Who knew comedy could be kryptonite?
Spotify charges €2 billion for exclusive rights to Bojack's Knocking on Heaven's Door, claiming it's a game changer for Zydo. In the world of streaming, even niche genres get their moment in the spotlight, as long as the price tag is high enough to make Wall Street weep.
Trump stages escalator gate for the cameras, then trips on reality. When showmanship meets gravity, it's a long way down from the golden escalator. Guess even reality TV can't script physics.
Russian sub malfunctions in Mediterranean.
because what's a little nuclear panic between neighbors? Nothing like a floating reactor roulette to add some spice to your Mediterranean cruise. Who needs stability when you can have suspense?
Only 14% of Americans know Palachakor exists, and Brainsludge claims their new single Here Comes the Tractor will change that. When a genre sounds like a tractor revving in a haunted barn, it's either the future of music or a hipster's fever dream.
Experts wonder if the cure for high drug prices is to simply make them unaffordable. Who knew bankruptcy was a side effect?
Trump launches legal assault on Comey, adds threats against liberal groups for extra spite. When justice wears brass knuckles, democracy gets a black eye and the rule of law becomes just another punchline.
Reddit users post about King Crimson's islands, then drown in HTML soup. When code fails harder than a prog rock time signature, it's clear the internet's not ready for the classics, or basic formatting.
Hezbollah leader's son claims father's final rage was over Israeli pager strike, because nothing says legacy like outdated tech.
AI video sets CN Tower ablaze, and Google searches soar as reality checks take a backseat. When your AI-generated apocalypse looks more convincing than your morning coffee, we are officially living in the age of digital delusion.
Valdosta police kill one at elementary school because nothing screams safety like gunfire in a place for children. When cops play cowboy at an elementary school, it's not a shootout at the OK Corral, it's a tragic lesson in misplaced priorities.
Supreme Court blocks billions in foreign aid, claiming fiscal responsibility while billionaires rocket off to space. When justice means cutting lifelines, it's clear the court's GPS is set straight to the land of the lost priorities.
U.S. blocks Palestinian president from UN, yet claims to support peace talks.
Oops.
Department of Justice supports SCOTUS to weaken Voting Rights Act, reversing its historic stance. When the watchdog starts handing out treats to the wolves, you know democracy's on a crash diet.
Tesla's sales plummet in Europe and stock dives despite Elon Musk's bravado.
Trump imposes 100% farmer tariffs, claiming it'll make America great while sending India's exports into a tailspin. With a cushion of low-cost generics, India might still survive, but Americans might pay in more than dollars for their meds.
EU pushes chat control, claims it's about safety, while ignoring privacy rights of 450 million citizens. When Big Brother offers you protection, remember it's usually a prelude to a strip search of your digital life.
Biochar stabilizes after 5 reuse cycles. Scientists claim it's a wastewater game changer. If only our politicians could recycle integrity with the same efficiency, imagine the pristine seas of honesty we'd swim in.
System BC infects 1500 Delhi VPS victims, flaunting 80 command and control servers like it's a villain's trophy room. While Kubernetes errors fumble around, System BC runs a masterclass in cyber chaos, leaving security teams gasping for air and answers.
Ashley Eckstein calls for animated Ahsoka Tano movie, citing gaps between Clone Wars and new series. In a galaxy far, far away, even Jedi need sequels to fill plot holes bigger than a Death Star exhaust port.
TikTok censors pro-Palestinian content, claims it's to maintain community harmony. When social media becomes a geopolitical chessboard, it's hard to tell if we're witnessing strategy or just a digital dictatorship in disguise.
Gavin Newsom backs new oil permits, despite pledging to fight climate change. When politicians dance to Big Oil's tune, the music always seems to drown out the cries of melting ice caps and sweltering summers.
YouTube uses samples. Mystery Song claims it's from an alternate dimension where people actually have taste. When a track's origin is as elusive as a politician's promise, the real challenge is finding someone who cares enough to solve the riddle.
When fewer ideas pass for progress, it's like calling a blank canvas a masterpiece, artful in its emptiness, but still just a blank stare.
Pam Bondi transfers commuted prisoners to Supermax because compassion is so last century. When Mercy gets locked up and the key thrown away, you know Justice took a vacation and left a sadistic intern in charge.
OpenAI's ChatGPT flaw leaks Gmail data and Shadow Leak names it a zero-click exploit. Looks like even our emails can now ghostwrite their own demise. Gmail's privacy just became more transparent than a Jedi mind trick.
Only 30% of indie bands make it big, and The Devil Makes 3 calls it family. When your family is a band, every reunion's a jam session. Louder, messier, and with more existential dread than your average Thanksgiving dinner.
Only 40% of adults avoid ultra-processed foods, and the rest are marinating in chemicals they can't even pronounce. When your diet's a chemistry experiment, your body's the lab rat, and the only prize is a lifetime supply of regret and heartburn.
When comedians perform in a desert mirage of freedom, the jokes are as dry as the promises of reform.
When your foreign policy is a hammer, every country looks like a nail, and the only thing hammered is the truth.
Salomon Brothers bond trader faces sex trafficking charges while his Wall Street buddies claim it's just a bad investment. When your broker's portfolio includes human lives, it's time to short sell their integrity and go Lawman justice.
Nigel Farage refuses to condemn paracetamol claims, and Bridget Phillipson accuses him of endangering women. When a pill becomes more controversial than a politician, you know someone's dodging responsibility faster than a caffeine-fueled squirrel.
Trump deploys troops to Portland and ICE facilities because nothing says freedom like armored personnel carriers on your morning commute. When the only wall he can build is around dissent, it's clear the real border crisis is between power and sanity.
When speaking truth to power becomes a criminal act, expect a surge in whispers and a shortage of courage.
Malawi's ex-president wins election at 85, proving age is just a number unless you're trying to remember economic policies. When your comeback tour needs a senior discount, maybe it's time to let someone else carry the inflation-busting baton.
Only 1% of Victorians drive 40% of crime, and police call it business as usual. When a handful of troublemakers outshine the rest, it's less a crime spree and more a one-man show with a rotating cast.
Robotic system synthesizes chemicals in hyperspace, promising a new era of alchemy. When your chemistry set is more sci-fi than science class, expect the potions to come with a side of existential dread.
When your scapegoat is more worn out than your excuses, maybe it's time to consider a new script and a reality check.
When TikTok stock tips outperform seasoned analysts, maybe it's time for the old guard to swap their suits for hashtags and humility.
Delta plane engine ignites on runway and passengers receive complimentary heart palpitations instead of peanuts. When your flight offers front row seats to a fire show, you know the airline's taking hot deals to a whole new level.
Jessica Chastain criticizes Plea for delaying the Savant series on hate groups. When streaming giants hesitate to spotlight hate, it's clear that profit and cowardice often share the same boardroom seat.
Rock Hall snubs B-52s again despite their cosmic dance moves and sellout tours. When the Rock Hall of Fame can't handle your intergalactic groove, it's clear they're stuck in a mundane orbit, spinning Mellencamp records.
Only 30% of economic models predict positive outcomes, and economists call it an optimistic forecast. Apparently, our wallets are more sensitive than our hearts, cringing at the slightest hint of a downturn while shrugging off the sunny days.
Sinclair airs Jimmy Kimmel Live, again despite Disney ignoring its demands for an ombudsman. Looks like Sinclair's bark was worse than its bite, proving even conservative broadcasters can't resist the allure of late-night laughs. No ombudsman required.
Scientists harness lasers and fiber optics to predict earthquakes, but only after buildings shake like maracas. Apparently, we need houses to dance the cha-cha and a server room rave to finally take seismic science seriously.
Three mass shootings rock North Carolina, Texas, and New Orleans, while lawmakers offer thoughts and prayers. It's almost like bullets have become America's new national pastime, and tragedy the soundtrack to our collective denial.
Ukrainian officials confirm Zaporizhzhia's power blackout for 72 hours, claim it's under control. Sure, because nothing screams under control like a nuclear facility running on backup generators longer than a weekend bender.
Scientists engineer bacteria to transform waste plastic into painkillers, calling it a sustainable breakthrough. From choking oceans to easing headaches, these little critters might just be the alchemists of our trashy times.
In an era where AI is a shiny new toy, it seems fiscal responsibility is the forgotten old sock under the bed.
Trump signs executive order facilitating TikTok sale, claiming it strengthens national security. From the man who brought you Kofe, now comes the art of the deal, selling a dance app to save democracy, one viral challenge at a time.
When Wall Street hears tariff, it apparently translates to buy more croissants and watches. Who knew economic stability smelled like cologne and cheese?
US government reports personal spending rose 0.6% in August, declares economy alright. Because nothing says economic stability like splurging on avocado toast while juggling 3 side gigs and praying your rent doesn't double.
ICE officer sidelined after violent incident, but accountability remains elusive. When the system's response to brutality is a desk job, it's less justice served and more justice microwaved and left to cool. Adios indeed.
Macron wants Israeli annexation of West Bank crosses US red line. Trump receives 3-page plan. When your diplomatic strategy is reduced to a short reading assignment for Trump, you're banking on the power of bullet points over bulletproof vests.
Canada's postal workers strike, halting mail deliveries and calling proposals an attack on services. When mail snail paces slower than a glacier, Canada's government might start to realize you can't deliver progress with a foot on the workers' necks.
Weather Bureau predicts near-perfect conditions for AFL Grand Final, calls it cloudy but dry. because nothing says near perfect like squinting through clouds while the wind tries to steal your team scarf and your overpriced hot dog.
Trump plans to move World Cup games from unsafe cities, blames everything except gun laws. When your solution to safety is rearranging soccer matches instead of addressing the AR-15 elephant in the room, you've scored an own goal.
Trump threatens mass firings of federal workers amid shutdown, calls it a negotiation tactic.
Only 30% of exes avoid drama, and Josh's exes call it a miracle. When your ex's emotional manipulation is as predictable as a rom-com plot twist, it's time to change the channel and find a better show.
Rye House Power Station charges £6,000 per megawatt hour, touts record profits as public service. When your electricity bill rivals the GDP of a small nation, you start wondering if keeping the lights on is code for lining our pockets.
Wall Street doubts AI trade durability, despite tech execs' promises of a robotic future. Turns out, even the stock market's love affair with AI can't escape the reality of inflated expectations and deflated returns.
United States sits out gold rush while China hoards over 300 tons since 2022. It's like watching your ex buy a sports car while you're still trying to get your old jalopy to start. Who knew shiny things could still drive world power?
Accenture plans to exit staff unable to reskill in AI, labels it a restructuring strategy. Because nothing says we value our employees like a swift kick out the door if you can't speak fluent algorithm.
Gunman kills 2 at Dallas ICE facility, ending with a self-inflicted wound, says Homeland Security.
North Korea bans I love you in letters, calling it a decadent Western influence. When I love you becomes contraband, maybe it's time for a regime to check its own heart for signs of life. Romance shouldn't be revolutionary.
V appoints non-expert as health expert, insists on his unique perspective.
South Korea fires warning shots at North Korean ship crossing sea boundary, calls it a precaution. When friendly neighbor means please stay on your side or we'll make some noise, diplomacy the old-fashioned way.
Only 10% of sugar babies fit the stereotype, and media calls it surprising. Turns out people crave authenticity over aesthetics, and the real shocker is how much we cling to old cliches about who should be desirable.
Krakow unveils planned route for Poland's second metro system. Promises completion by 2030. In a country where soon usually means maybe in your grandkid's lifetime, let's see if this metro arrives before the flying cars do.
Only 3% of children get labeled autistic, and scientists call it evolution. Blaming evolution for autism is like blaming the internet for bad grammar. Sure, they're connected, but maybe it's just us not paying attention.
Privacy is the new magic trick. Now you see it, now everyone else does too. Neon proves that sometimes viral means contagious in all the wrong ways.
It's like a billionaire's version of "I was hacked." When in doubt, feign amnesia and hope your bank account can handle the fallout.
Turkish Bayraktar Kizilame fighter jet flies with munitions, claims it's an unmanned marvel. In the age of AI, even war toys get smarter while world peace remains as elusive as a unicorn on roller skates.
ICE arrests Des Moines Superintendent Ian Roberts, district left scrambling for answers. When your school district's biggest lesson plan is Surprise Deportations 101, it's time to question who's really making the rules in the land of the free.
When a chatbot goes for less than a candy bar, you know the real currency is control, not cash.
Roderick Vale releases reggaeton track Promises Nothing New Since Despacito. Another reggaeton beat hits the airwaves, serving up the same old rhythm with a fresh coat of auto-tune. It's like reheating last night's leftovers and calling it haute cuisine.
When music becomes a battlefield and a guitar is more threatening than a gavel, it's clear some folks can't handle the harmony of free expression.
Only 38% of whales produce more female offspring, and longer baleen mothers are rewriting nature's gender reveal. When whales start playing the odds better than Vegas, maybe it's time we rethink who the real high rollers are in the animal kingdom.
Volcanic crisis reveals Santorini and Colombo magma connection, but no one's selling eruption insurance yet. When Mother Nature's hidden plumbing is exposed, it's a reminder that our vacation hotspots sit on a literal powder keg. Just add lava for a fiery surprise.
Violet Affleck gives speech at UN, while Bradford the dog tickles ivories and the internet's heartstrings. When a dog's piano playlist gets more attention than a UN address, maybe it's time to admit our priorities are barking up the wrong tree.
Chancellor Reeves warns UK's finances are precarious, yet still finds funds for a royal wedding. When balancing the budget means balancing on
Turkey abandons kebab rule enforcement, and Europe breathes a garlic-scented sigh of relief. The kebab showdown ends without a winner, leaving Europe free to serve its beloved doner creations in all their greasy glory. It's a culinary liberation, one pita at a time.
Trump authorizes military full force in Portland, solving absolutely nothing. When your solution to unrest is more unrest, it's like fighting fire with a flamethrower, scorched earth, and nothing learned.
Trump administration indicts Comey for espionage, then leaks classified documents to prove it.
French PM rules out wealth tax, aims to cut budget deficit to 4.7% in 2026, calls it economic strategy. When the rich keep their treasures and the poor get the ledger, it's a magic trick where inequality disappears only for the wealthy.
DOJ indicts former FBI Director James Comey, then claims it's about justice, not politics. Charging Comey for his 2020 testimony is like arresting a time traveler for jaywalking, an absurd spectacle only possible in the theater of Trumpian justice.
Only 5% of grief-stricken souls resort to AI resurrection, and Silicon Valley calls it innovation. Reanimating the dead through code might sound like a Black Mirror episode, but it's just another day in tech's quest to turn trauma into a subscription service.
AI-powered Smart Bandage claims to heal wounds 25% faster, but can't mend broken healthcare. While a heal patches up cuts, it won't stop the hemorrhaging of a system that treats people like ATM machines.
U.S. Treasury's Besant tells New York City to drop dead over Mamdani crisis bailout, showing compassion's not in their fiscal vocabulary. When the city that never sleeps gets insomnia from financial nightmares, the feds just offer a cold shoulder and a warm cup of deal with it.
While the image enchants with its hues, it glosses over the gritty strokes of gentrification and rising living costs, painting over locals' lives.
Senate staff investigates Dodge, discovers locked doors and windows masked by trash bags, the crypto world's version of an open house. Turns out, when senators go sleuthing, even meme coins have their skeletons wrapped in plastic and their privacy secured with duct tape.
In the grand tradition of soccer alchemy, Toronto hopes a fresh striker will turn their goal drought into a golden shower.
Group members intervene for detained immigrants, then deny asylum seekers' rights. When your compassion comes with a whisper and a side of plausible deniability, you're not a hero. You're just trying to have your cake and eat it too, with a healthy serving of hypocrisy.
Only 10% of crypto millionaires file taxes, and the IRS calls it progress. When your financial strategy involves dodging taxes for 2 decades, just remember, the only thing harder to avoid than the IRS is karma.
Trump administration indicts James Comey on charges of false statements and obstruction, calling it justice while flashing their vendetta playbook. When political grudges become legal battles, justice wears a blindfold, stitched from old campaign slogans and the threads of a revenge fantasy.
John Oates embraces cryptid collaboration, then calls it a comeback. When your musical partner is a mythical forest dweller with a saxophone, you know you're reaching for the top, or just lost in the woods.
Media moguls cut journalism budgets by 30%, then wonder why democracy wobbles like a drunk on a tightrope. When truth is a commodity auctioned to the highest bidder, journalism becomes a vanishing act, disappearing into a puff of unpaid invoices and clickbait.
Scientists downsize supermassive black holes, then blame the cosmic measuring tape. Turns out, the universe's ultimate heavyweight champs might be more like cosmic featherweights. Maybe it's time to rename them moderately impressive black holes.
Officials find notes by suspected ICE gunmen, then blame mental health. When your solution to gun violence is to scapegoat mental illness, while ignoring the trail of systemic failures, you're just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic of accountability.
Ryder Cup duo Raw Manhattan dismantle U.S. power pair as American exceptionalism takes a mulligan. Turns out, Europe's secret weapon is teamwork, while the US team plays like they're auditioning for a solo act on a reality show.
Trump administration threatens sex ed funding, then faces 16-state rebellion.
When management is just a new word for turning the screws, it's like putting a leash on a cheetah and calling it a pet project.
Adobe's AI strategy leaves analysts cautious while stock flirts with uncertainty. When AI is the buzzword and your stock's the question, you know the future's a coin toss. Maybe Adobe should ask AI to predict its own stock fate.
Trump administration demands multi-billion-dollar TikTok fee, labeled extortion by experts. When your government's negotiation style mirrors a mafia boss, maybe it's time to question who's really running the show.
Oklahoma official mandates turning point chapters in all high schools, claiming it's to honor Charlie Kirk. Because nothing says educational progress like mandatory political indoctrination, cashing in on tragedy to spread the gospel of division.
Only 4% of Epstein files are released, and authorities call it transparency. When transparency is a peephole into a locked vault, you know the real show is in the shadows, where the rich play hide and seek with justice.
Drug traffickers broadcast torture of young Argentinian women, and social media giants shrug. When clicks become currency and humanity is collateral, the real crime is letting algorithms decide who gets saved or silenced.
Russia trains stolen Ukrainian children to throw grenades and build drones, then calls it education. When your school curriculum includes Explosives 101, you've officially redefined learning outcomes in the most dystopian way possible.
UN reports 1 million Syrian refugees returned home, labels chaos a new beginning. When the UN calls it progress, you know it's time to question if home is a place or just a ghost of what once was.
Safe UV light claims to neutralize allergens in minutes, but your cat still won't pay rent. Finally, a solution that promises to zap allergies quicker than your cat can knock over a vase, but don't expect it to clean the litter box.
Election board delays Grigalva's swearing, blames the calendar. When democracy's schedule is more flexible than an Olympic gymnast, you know something's bending over backwards to keep power on its toes.
When an algorithm starts dropping beats and feeling emotions, maybe it's time to question if your playlist has more life than your last relationship.
Federal court fines Antonio Rotondo $350,000, but women still pay the real price. While Rotondo's wallet feels the sting, the women targeted by his digital violations are left to pick up the pieces of their shattered dignity.
As TikTok lines its pockets, the app's youngest users are groomed into a digital marketplace where privacy is just a fairy tale.
Intel approaches Apple for investment, hopes for a lifeline. When tech giants start begging their competitors for a bailout, it's like a rock star asking a cover band to headline their comeback tour.
Israeli drone attacks LPG tanker with 24 Pakistanis, then Houthis detain it. In today's geopolitical chess match, the pawns aboard are just trying to avoid getting captured by every player with a drone and a grudge.
A second MAGA doctor breaks with Trump over Tylenol tirade, citing common sense as a lost cause. As Trump rants against pain relief, his loyalists start to wonder if the real headache is the man himself.
Mike Lindell plans Minnesota governor run, pillows not included. When a pillow salesman thinks he can govern a state, you have to wonder if he's fluffing up his resume or just dreaming in polyester.
Trump's new U.S. attorney indicts Comey by herself, claiming it's all in a day's work for justice.
It's like playing whack-a-mole with dictators, except the moles are armed, and the mallet is just a sternly worded letter.
Astra CEO Chris Kemp buys engine, calls it garbage, then blames supplier. Space drama alert. When your rocket dreams crash and burn, always have a scapegoat ready to ignite the blame thrusters.
White House warns of firings, calls it prioritizing. When your boss is Donald Trump, you're fired is less a catchphrase and more a governing philosophy. Priorities, am I right?
Glenn Powell declines photo with cancelled actor, citing his face as toxic like a radioactive selfie waiting to implode. Ah, Hollywood, where image is everything and a picture is worth 1,000 damaged reputations.
FBI dismisses agents for kneeling, proving justice is blindfolded but not blind. In the land of the free, kneeling for justice might just get you the boot, unless you're kneeling to the right power.
Only 30% of parents limit plastic exposure, and NYU Langone Health calls it progress. As kids chew on plastic toys, we're left wondering if Barbie's dream house comes with an inhaler and fertility clinic.
Wall Street shrugs as gamblers bail on risky bets, then calls it stability. When the casino chips fall, Wall Street's poker face remains, pretending nothing's amiss while the house burns around them.
FBI dismisses agents for kneeling during protests, then claims they're committed to justice. Apparently, taking a knee is a fireable offense unless it's on the neck of progress or accountability.
Federal judge rules Mike Lindell defamed Smartmatic, and MyPillow hasn't softened the blow.
From selling pillows to spinning tales, Lindell's saga proves even the fluffiest claims can lead to a nightmarish legal wake-up call.
Beastie Boys release Pop Your Balloon, then call it a party starter. When legends drop a track, it's less a celebration and more an invitation to pop the bubble of mediocrity in music.
Kimmel and Colbert swap guest spots same night, promise twice the laughs. It's the late night version of a buddy cop movie where the only crime is the lack of sleep and originality.
Only 20% of scientists remain on X, and Musk calls it innovation. Turns out when you turn a professional network into a circus, the scientists pack up their lab coats and head for the exits.
Volt proposes 50 new brigades to kickstart the European army, calls it unity. The EU's plan to unite under one banner might just be the most ambitious group project since the Tower of Babel.
Spotify streams hit 2 million for Two Wanted Men's Electric Horizon, leaving words behind. When your music says it all, who needs lyrics? Instrumental rock that screams louder than a politician caught with a hot mic.
Starmer promises unity at Labor conference while politics remains a gladiator pit. In the age of sound bites and sword fights, Starmer's plea for harmony is like asking lions to go vegan.
French official claims two-state solution saved from moral danger ignores accountability. In the grand game of diplomacy, they've just rolled a moral dice and called it a win, while sidestepping the entire accountability board.
Silicon Valley's latest disruptor is humility, and it's as rare as a Windows phone. When tech titans admit they're clueless, it's like watching a pride of lions try to purr, both awkward and oddly satisfying.
Scientists discover quantum echo in superconductors, still can't predict my Spotify playlist. While they unravel the mysteries of quantum echoes, the secrets of your weekend jams remain as elusive as ever in the realm of tech.
Netflix labels Guinness founder as secretly gay, risking their show's credibility. When a streaming giant starts rewriting history like a tabloid, you know they're desperate for more than just ratings. Who needs truth when you've got drama?
Ex-DOJ insider claims Jeffrey Epstein was a CIA spy, raising eyebrows and conspiracy theories alike. When your spy network reads like a who's who of the morally bankrupt, it's hard to tell intelligence from incompetence.
Reddit blocks Freedom Anthem flash mob, calls it community moderation. As the digital barricades rise, remember, nothing says freedom like a corporation deciding what you can sing about online.
Senate report finds DOGE operates unchecked at multiple agencies, recommending audits to protect Americans' data. When government watchdogs become lapdogs, privacy becomes a chew toy for bureaucracy's slobbering maw.
Red Sox secure postseason with Rafaela's triple, claim its destiny. Baseball's ultimate drama. A millionaire hits a ball, a stadium erupts, and somehow this means the city's dreams are fulfilled.
Trump warns the left not to provoke the right, claiming his supporters are tougher and that bad things happen. When the president sounds like a mob boss, democracy's on the ropes, left to dodge haymakers from the bully pulpit.
Ohio bans sugary drinks from SNAP benefits, claims it's for health. Because nothing screams public health like legislating what people can drink, right? Next, they'll dictate how many apples you can juggle for exercise.
AG Bondi gave White House aides minutes' notice before distributing Epstein binders, catching them with their pants down. When binders drop like bombshells, the scramble reveals who forgot to pack their parachute or conscience.
Hurricane Humberto strengthens to Category 4, but promises to stay socially distant from the U.S. East Coast. Even hurricanes respect boundaries better than some politicians. Humberto's got the power without the power trip.
James Gunn teases Peacemaker twist, reveals G.I. Robot won't debut in the show. Hollywood's got more twists than a pretzel factory and just as much artificial flavor. Who needs robots when the plot's already on autopilot?
The Atlantic conflates Gaza left with gender left sparks confusion. When your political analysis sounds like a tangled headphone cord, maybe it's time to rethink your categories. Not every leftist is a one-size-fits-all ideology.
Boeing stock soars as 737 MAX restrictions ease, proving deregulation can be a real high flyer. Apparently, safety checks are just turbulence on the way to profit heaven. Who knew reckless abandon was the new flight plan?
White House Budget Office warns agencies, plans mass layoffs during looming shutdown. When the going gets tough, the government gets going, straight to the unemployment line. But don't worry, the stock market's got popcorn.
Who needs courtroom drama when you can stream your own redemption arc?
When your groundbreaking research sounds like a sci-fi subplot, maybe it's time to hire a PR specialist. Because if you can't explain it simply, no one cares about your cellular drama.
Finland predicts climate collapse and NATO's end by 2045. Because who doesn't love a dystopian double feature? Forget popcorn futures, better stockpile sunscreen and survival kits. When the forecast is Armageddon, at least the weather is consistent.
The Justice Department indicts Comey, igniting a political bonfire of vanities. When indictments become the new cocktail conversation starter, you know the real crime is the circus in the courtroom past the popcorn. The show's just starting.
Neko Case releases new album at 55, and it's still not a love song, because who needs romance when you have raw truth? In a world of auto-tuned drivel, Case's voice is a lighthouse cutting through the fog of mediocrity.
CEOs adopt AI synergy to sound cutting edge, but it's just corporate speak for we're not sure what we're doing.
Chinese studio rewrites gay couple as straight using AI, calls it cultural localization. When AI becomes the new conversion therapy, we're left wondering if the real horror is on screen or behind the scenes. Love is love even in subtitles.
Microsoft processes data in over 100 countries, yet customers are kept in the dark. It's like a global game of hide and seek with your data, except the prize is your privacy, and Microsoft is the only one playing.
Asus slashes gaming laptop price to under $1,000, but it's last year's model.
Only 30% of teams automate alert triage, and tech giants call it a revolution. When your smart systems need a babysitter, it's like hiring a nanny for your Roomba.
DeepMind unveils AI to choreograph factory robots, claims it's artistry in motion. If robots start pirouetting through production lines, maybe they'll soon outdo us in the arts too. Who knew manufacturing needed a touch of Swan Lake?
Trump orders death penalty enforcement in D.C., reviving an archaic specter. Like a grim reaper with a pen, he's resurrecting policies from the past. Because nothing says progress like medieval justice.
Trump orders crackdown on domestic terrorism networks, targets left-leaning nonprofits. When your political playbook reads like a conspiracy thriller, it's clear your administration's grasp on reality is fictional at best.
Hong Kong bans homes under 8 square meters, labels them unfit for habitation. When even a closet-sized flat becomes too excessive.
AI and robotics promise faster discoveries, but scientists face ethical dilemmas.
Only 20% of new rap tracks break 1,000 streams, and Cantonese Strict calls it funky. In a world where algorithms decide your worth, it's not about the music, it's about the machine's mood swings.
Netanyahu uses archaeology to bolster political aims, claims it's cultural preservation. When digging up old stones becomes a tool for modern-day power plays, you know history is being rewritten with a backbone and a biased agenda.
Trump's DOJ indicts Comey, calls it justice, yet reeks of revenge. When justice starts resembling a mob boss's vendetta, the scales of democracy tip dangerously toward tyranny, and Lady Justice loses her blindfold.
North Korea stages military parade, claims it's a peace demonstration. When a parade of missiles is your idea of a peaceful gathering, you're either deluded or just really bad at reading the room.
IFA schedules PSG's Intercontinental Cup final in Qatar, solving football's biggest mystery, how to ignore human rights.
Nvidia and Intel plan new RTX chips, promise AMD's demise. When two tech titans team up to topple a rival, it's either a blockbuster or a buddy comedy where the heroes trip over their own shoelaces.
Russian vessel Yantar gathers NATO cable data, raising sabotage fears. When a research vessel goes from Jacques Cousteau to James Bond villain, NATO's underwater secrets might just become Russia's next big party trick.
Scientists design proteins for cytokine control, but only if they master molecular choreography. In the world of protein design, it's all about making molecules dance to your tune, but beware. One wrong step, and it's a molecular mosh pit.
Bloomberg suggests the dollar might derail trends, but only after it's done derailing economies. Because when the dollar sneezes, the global market catches a cold, and investors reach for their crystal balls.
Trump signs $3 trillion budget bill, calls it big, beautiful. When your financial strategy resembles a reality TV show pitch, it's no surprise the real drama is left for the taxpayers to unfold.
When bullets become billboards for twisted manifestos, the performance art of terror reaches a chilling crescendo, leaving us questioning who the real audience is.
Kimmel's YouTube fame sends traditional broadcasters scrambling, but they still think cable TV is the future. Because nothing screams cutting edge like clinging to a sinking ship, while the internet sails by with a victory parade.